Sairam students, and welcome back in this session. Today we'll again continue with the lesson that is a house is not a home from moments, the third part. Before we continue, let's do a quick recap of whatever we have learned so far. This story is based on the theme of adjustment issues encountered by teenagers. In our life, we face certain situations which becomes intolerable and we are unable to adjust to them. The author faces a challenging situation when he joins a new school. One day, as he was sitting with his red tabby cat doing his homework, the seams of the ceiling of his house caught fire. His mother ran back into the house to get some important documents. When the author tries to follow his mother, the fireman stops him from doing so as it could be really dangerous. So the fireman stops him from going after his mother. Everything gets destroyed in the fire. He loses everything. They lose each and everything, all their belongings. Also, the narrator's favorite cat goes missing. The narrator and his mother had to spend the night at his grandparents' house. So, they lost everything. They had no shelter. So, they had to go to the grandparents' house to stay, to take shelter out there. So, now let's continue. The next day, the author unwillingly attended school without proper outfit or stationery, as everything had been destroyed in the fire. Like we saw, everything was destroyed. He didn't have no proper outfit, no shoes. So he had to attend school because his mother had forced him to attend school. He wasn't willing to go to school at all. The narrator felt embarrassed and also felt like an outcast. So he was really embarrassed with the situation. He was not ready to go to school because he felt someone very different in the school. So let's continue with the lesson, students. There was no time to grieve. My mother rushed me out of the house. We would have to find a place to live and I would have to go buy some clothes for school. So there was no time to sit and brood about the situation. So mother pushed the narrator out of the house and asked him to go to school. Also, they had to find a place to live because they cannot keep living at the grandparents' house. Also, he needed to buy some clothes for school because everything had been destroyed in the fire. We had to borrow money from my grandparents because there were no credit cards, cash, or even any identification to be able to withdraw money from the bank. Everything had gone up in smoke. So to purchase things, they had to borrow money from the grandparents. As their credit cards, the cash, also the identification documents to withdraw money from the bank, everything was destroyed in the fire. That week, the rubble that used to be our house was being cleared off the lot. Even though we had rented an apartment nearby, I would go over to watch them clear away debris, hoping that my cat was somewhere to be found. So, the rubble means the things that were left out of the house that was burnt. All that was getting cleared. They were clearing it out. Even though they were staying in a rented apartment very close by, the narrator used to go and watch the people clearing the debris and hoping to see his cat somewhere, the missing cat somewhere. So he used to go there, sit there, and watch them clear, hoping to see his lost cat. She was gone. I kept thinking about her as that vulnerable little kitten. In the early morning, when I would disturb her and get out of bed, she would tag along after me, climb up my robe, and crawl into my pocket to fall asleep. I was missing her terribly. So he was continuously thinking about this little kitten of his, the cat, because she used to do lot of things early in the morning. The narrator would get out of bed. This cat would climb on the robe and crawl into his pockets. All this he was missing terribly. He was really feeling very bad that the cat was not to be found anywhere. It always seems that bad news spreads quickly, and in my case, it was no different. Everyone in high school, including the teachers, was aware of my plight. So it is generally we know that something bad, some bad news, it spreads very quickly to all the people around. So the same thing happened with the case of the narrator, the author. Everyone in the school, including his teachers, were now aware of what his condition was like, what his plight was. I was embarrassed as if somehow I were responsible. What a way to start off at a new school. This was not the kind of attention I was looking for. So he was feeling really embarrassed, out of place, because he felt something very different to go and be a part of this particular group of students in the new school. He never wanted to start off his new school days in such a manner, and he did not want this kind of an attention from the people around him. So he was really embarrassed about the situation he was in. The next day at school, people were acting even more strange than usual. I was getting ready for gym class at my locker. People were milling around me, asking me to hurry up. So he felt next day when went to school, people were acting really strange. Everyone around were surrounded around him, trying to speak to him, giving lot of remarks and talking to him about lot of things. So he was really feeling very embarrassed about the situation as to why people were acting so strange than the usual things. I thought it strange, but in the light of the past few weeks, nothing would surprise me. It almost seemed that they were trying to shove me into the gym. Then I saw why. There was a big table set up with all kinds of stuff on it just for me. So he was thinking about this strange situation that he was in, about whatever happened in the past few weeks, and he was wondering what is this that the people were trying to actually do. They were shoving me into the gym, means pushing him into the gym, but he was not able to understand why they were actually forcing him into the gym. Then he understood there was a big table that was set up for him, and there were a lot of things on it, placed on it, just for the narrator. They had taken up a collection and bought me school supplies, notebooks, all kinds of different clothes, jeans, tops, sweatsuits. It was like Christmas. I was overcome by emotion. So what did he see in the table? What was the things that were kept for him? The students together had collected, and they had bought all the school supplies, notebooks, his clothes, because he didn't have proper clothes to attend school, tops, jeans, and lot of things which were useful to him. It was like Christmas for him. He was overcome by emotion. He felt really emotional. He was uh, also surprised and happy about whatever the people had done for him. People who had never spoken to me before were coming up to me to introduce themselves. I got all kinds of invitations to their houses. Their genuine outpouring of concern really touched me. So he also saw that the people who had never spoken to him earlier were coming to him and introducing themselves. They were giving him invitations to visit their homes, their houses. This kind of concern, this kind of genuine concern that they were showing towards the narrator really touched him. He felt really touched and was overjoyed with emotions. In that instant, I finally breathed a sigh of relief and thought for the first time that things were going to be okay. I made friends that day. So finally, he breathed a sigh of relief. He felt relieved, thinking that things were going to be okay finally. He had undergone so much of difficulty earlier because of the incidents that took place in the life. Now he felt that things were going to be fine. He had finally made friends that particular day. A month later, I was at my house watching them rebuild it. But this time it was different. I wasn't alone. I was with two of my new friends from the school. So, almost a month later, his house that was burnt was being rebuilt. He was watching them rebuild it, but only thing this time he was not alone. He had two of his new friends from the new school. It took a fire for me to stop focusing on my feelings of insecurity and open up to all the wonderful people around me. Now I was sitting there watching my house being rebuilt when I realized my life was doing the same thing. So he thought to himself that this fire was the thing that helped him overcome his feelings of insecurity. Whatever insecurity he had when he had visited the new school, he felt that everything he had overcome. It helped him open up to the different people around him and be a part of their life too. He felt really happy about it. He was sitting and watching his house being rebuilt. Also, he felt that his life was also being rebuilt. He was a changed person now who was really happy about his life. While we sat there on the curb planning my new bedroom, I heard someone walk up to me from behind and say, "Does this belong to you?" When I turned around to see who it was, I couldn't believe my eyes. So while he was sitting there on the edge, curb means the edge, planning his new bedroom, like how his new bedroom would look like, he heard somebody coming down to him and asking him whether this belongs to him. So when the narrator turned around to see who it was, he was really stunned. He couldn't believe his eyes when he saw what was there. A woman was standing there holding my cat. I leapt up and grabbed her out of the woman's arms. I held her close to me and cried into that beautiful orange fur. She purred happily. My friends were hugging me, hugging the cat, and jumping around. So, what did the narrator see? There was a woman who was standing with his cat in her hands. She was holding his cat. As soon as he saw this cat, he leapt up and grabbed it from the woman's arms. He took it close to him and hugged the cat so much that the cat purred happily. Not only he, his friends also were overjoyed by this particular sight. Apparently, my cat had been so freaked by the fire that she ran over a mile away. Her collar had our phone number on it, but our phones had been destroyed and disconnected. So the cat was really freaked out, means was very scared because of the fire that had broken out on in the house. She ran over a mile away. However, the caller had their numbers, but the phones had been destroyed and disconnected, so there was no way they could contact the narrator. This wonderful woman took her in and worked hard to find out whose cat it was. Somehow she knew this cat was loved and sorely missed. So this woman, she was so kind that she took the cat and took care of it and tried to find out whose cat it was, who the cat belonged to. She was also of the opinion that this cat was loved by somebody and was missed by someone very strongly. As I sat there with my friends and my cat curled up in my lap, all the overwhelming feelings of loss and tragedy seemed to diminish. So, as he was sitting with his friends and the cat in his lap, he felt that all the loss, all the things that had happened in his life because of the fire, because of the new school, everything had come to an end. Everything had diminished. I felt gratitude for my life, my new friends, the kindness of a stranger, and the loud purr of my beloved cat. My cat was back, and so was I. So he was really grateful to all these people in his life, his new friends who helped him at the times of difficulty. Also, the kindness of the stranger who took care of the cat. Also, the beloved cat who came back to the narrator. So, the narrator here says that his cat was back and so was he. He was also back because though he had faced these kind of difficulties, he came back. He came back and overcame all these situations in life. So students, it shows that we need to fight back. We can't just run away from the situations. So now let's see what the story, what message it gives us. Life is a sad mixture of both good and bad times. We have both good and bad times. We must face the challenges of life boldly instead of running away from them. Bad times can be less pinching if we share our feelings with others. So if we have somebody with us who support us, the bad times can be overcome very easily. It gives us the message that people do come forward to help us in times of difficulty. There are people surely who would come and help us when we are in trouble. Like we saw, the boy in the story gets help from his schoolmates who provide him with the essentials. So the schoolmates help this narrator a lot. Also, a lady living nearby helps him get back his favorite cat. So this lady, who was a total stranger, took care of his cat, his favorite cat, and brought the cat back to the narrator. Thus, we must be courageous and never lose hope when facing difficult times and situations. So we need to face all the situations boldly and with courage. However difficult the situations may be, we need to face them. People will come and help us. Okay. So now let's see what the value points are. Just go through them, what these are. Make a note of these points in your books so that you can understand the lesson better. Okay, how the students helped him, how the people helped him around, how his cat came back, and how he was overjoyed, how grateful he was to his life. Okay, so I hope students you understood the lesson well. Go through it and understand it better. Now you will get a link wherein you have to answer the questions and submit the same on that particular link. Thank you.